this live tutoring session from Namaste Online Tutoring. Today, I'm going to show you how to factor trinomials. I'm not going to show you the entire process. In fact, I'm going to show you some shortcuts or some tricks on how we can factor trinomials. So let's get started with the first problem here. Suppose our question is factor x squared plus 11x plus 24. So if you look at this trinomial here, this is the trinomial with leading coefficient 1. So if there is a trinomial with leading coefficient 1, in order to factor this, it is quite simple. All we need to do is we have to look at this number 24 here, the constant term, and then we have to find the two factors of 24 that will add up to 11. So 8 times 3, if we multiply 8 and 3, that is 24, and 8 plus 3 is also 24. So meaning of that is the factor for this trinomial would be x plus 3 times x plus 8. We can always multiply these two using FOIL and check whether this is the correct answer or not. If we multiply these two, you should get x squared plus 11x plus 24. So that's quite simple here. This is the first case when the leading coefficient is 1. But today, what I'm trying to do show you is factoring trinomial, technical factoring trinomial, when the leading coefficient is not 1. So what I mean by that is something like this. Let me write a question here. Suppose the question is factor 3x squared plus 5x plus 2. So if we have a trinomial like this and we want to factor, in this case, what we do is we multiply the leading coefficient, leading coefficient with the constant. So here it will be 3 times 2, which is a 6. So we are pretty much using the same process that we have done here, but when we write the factor, there is a little trick down there. Now we need to find the two factors of 6 that will add up to 5. So the factors are 3 and 2, because 3 times 2 is 6 and 3 plus 2 is 5. So if we use this concept to write the factors, here we wrote that x, but here we have 3x squared, so we'll write 3x, and the first number we have is 3, and then 3x plus 2. So what I'm doing here is from here I'm using that 3x, so 3x, and then these two numbers, 3 and 2, plus 3 plus 2. Now, if you look at these two numbers here, there is nothing common. So this factor would be as it is. But in this one, you can see that there is a common factor of 3. So if there is a common factor, you can divide by that. So divide that by 3. So our final answer would be 3x divided by 3 is x. So that would be x, and then plus 3 over 3, that's 1. Multiply 2, 3x plus 2. So the factored form for this trinomial is x plus 1 times 3x plus 2. So if we multiply these two, we'll get 3x squared plus 5x plus 2. So the procedure here is exactly same as the first one. But what we did is, when we get these two factors here, if there is any common number to or if there is a common factor to two numbers inside the parenthesis, we divide by that factor and we reduce that. So that would be the factor. So let's take a couple of examples so that we'll be used to with this technique. So let's move on to third example here. So in example 3, let's see, the question is factor 4b squared plus 5b plus 1. So first what we do is we multiply this number, the leading coefficient, with the constant. So it will be 4 times 1, which is a 4. And then from 4, we have to find two factors of 4 that will add to 5. So two factors of 4 that would add to 5 are 4 and 1. Because 4 times 1 is 4 and 4 plus 1 is 5. So we can rewrite this using these two numbers. Here we have 4b squared. So our first term would be 4b. So we write like this: 4b plus that first number 4 and 4b plus that second number 1. In the second parenthesis, there is nothing common, so we don't have to divide that. But for the first one, we can see that there's the common factor of 4, so we divide that by 4. So this is equal to b plus 1, because 4b divided by 4 is b, and 4 over 4 is a 1 multiplied to 4b plus 1. 4b plus 1. So that is the factored form for this trinomial 4b squared plus 5b plus 1. So we have seen 3 examples here. We'll look at few more just to get used to of the technique. Okay, so what we are doing today is we are learning how to factor trinomials, but we are not learning the entire process, but we are learning the technique, how we can do it fast. Okay, we are looking at the technique of getting the correct factors for the trinomial. Okay, so let's look at next example. So that is 3. Now let's see number 4. Suppose in number 4, we have a question: factor 3x squared plus 22x plus 7. So now you know the technique. First, what we do is we multiply 3 and 7. So that would be 21. And then we have to find two factors of 21 that will add to 22. So from 21, we need to get two numbers that will add to 22. So definitely that is 21 and 1. Because 21 times 1 is 21, and 21 plus 1 is a 22. Now in order to write the factors, here we have a 3x squared. So our first term will be 3x. So we write it like this: 3x plus that first number 21, and then 3x plus the second number, which is 1. In the second bracket or second parenthesis, we don't have anything common, but in the first one, there is a common factor of 3. So we divide it by 3. So that is equal to x plus 7 multiplied to 3x plus 1. So what we did here is 3x over 3 is a x, and 21 over 3 is a 7. That's why we got the factors here, x plus 7 times 3x plus 1. So that's how we can factor the trinomial. So in today's session, we are going to look at 2 more examples so that you will be confident in factoring any of these trinomials. Okay, number 5. Suppose we are asked to factor this. Factor 2a squared plus 5a plus 3. Now, we know the technique. What we do is we multiply the leading coefficient with the constant. So that will be 2 multiplied to 3, that's a 6. And then we have to find two factors of 6 that will add to 5. So those two numbers are 2 and 3. Because 2 times 3 is a 6 and 2 plus 3 is a 5. So if we want to write the factor, here is 2a squared. So our first term will be 2a, and these are the second number in each parenthesis. So we write this as 2a plus the first number and 2a plus the second number. In the second parenthesis, there is nothing common, but in the first one, there is a common factor 2. So we divide it by 2. Now you know the technique. So this will be equal to a plus 1 times 2a plus 3. Because 2a over 2 is a and 2 over 2 is a 1. So 8 plus 1 times 2a plus 3 are the factors of this trinomial. I hope everything is going fine so far. So let's look at the last example. Here we go. Say, for example, we have a question, factor 6b squared minus 13b plus 3. So now we have a negative number there because in all of the examples that we have done so far, there are no negatives. But here in this one, we have a negative. So we have to be a little bit careful here. But the process is the same. So you can see we need to multiply the leading coefficient with the constant. So if we do that, it will be 6 times 3. Let's see. This should be plus 5. Let's make that correction there. Okay, 5. So what we do is first we multiply the leading coefficient with the constant. So 6 times 5 is a 30. And then from 30, we need to find two numbers that will add to negative 13. So the factors would be negative 10 and negative 3, because negative 10 times negative 3 is a positive 30. But if we add these two, then it will be negative 13. So what we do is, in order to write the factors, first term is 6b squared. So what we do is we start with 6b. 6b minus that number and 6b minus the second number. So this can be written as 6b minus the first number multiplied to 6b minus the second number. Now what we can see here is in the first parenthesis, we have 6b minus 10. Meaning of that is there is a common factor of 2. So we divide it by 2. And in the second parenthesis, we have 6b minus 3. There's a common factor of 3. So we divide it by 3. So the factored form will be, when you divide in the first parenthesis, it will be 3b minus 5. And in the second parenthesis, it will be 2b minus 1. Because you can see here, 6b divided by 2 is 3b, and 10 divided by 2 is a 5. Similarly, in the second parenthesis, 6b divided by 3 is a 2b, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So this is how we can use the technique to quickly find the factors when trinomial is given. Okay, so that's all for this quick live session. I hope you like it. If you like it, don't forget to share